Welcome to the Blind Android Users channel. This is your source for everything Android, tutorials and demos, all from a blindness perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. This is Warren Carr for Blind Android Users. Thanks for stopping by on our channel today. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel so you're notified of every new episodes that we upload. Today, I'll be demonstrating the gesture navigation found in Android. And no, I'm not talking about those navigational gestures found within the TalkBack screen reader. Rather, I'm talking about those native gestures that are found within Android itself. And so as a historian, I like to go back to when those things first came out, and that was with the introduction of Android 10. In this little clip, I'll be demonstrating how to navigate home, go back, open up the notification center, pull down the quick settings, open up the home settings, and reverting back to the traditional 3-button navigation if that is what you prefer. I am now on my home screen, and today I'm using the Acapella TTS. For a sighted person, most of these gestures are done using one finger. And where a sighted person uses one finger, for those of us who are blind, that translates to mean two-finger gestures. For instance, a sighted person swipes down with one finger from the top of the screen to open up the notification center. And for me as a blind person, that means I swipe down with two. A sighted person swipes down with two fingers to open the quick settings or quick panel. And for me as a blind person, that translates to 3 fingers. A sighted person swipes up with one finger from the bottom to go back home. And for me as a blind person, that translates to mean I use 2 fingers to swipe up and go back home. For a sighted person, swiping left or right from the edge of the phone goes back the previous screen. For me, that involves 2 fingers. I will now demonstrate these things and talk also about how we go to the home settings and all of that. I am on my home screen and I'm going to swipe down with 2 fingers to open up the notification center. I now pull down with 2 fingers.
Notification shade.
There I am in my notification shade, and if I pull down again with 2 fingers, that will open up the quick settings.
Quick settings.
There I am on the quick settings. I'm going to swipe from the bottom with 2 fingers, and I describe this as being brisk. In other words, you swipe, very short swipe from the very bottom. Don't hold. If you hold, that will activate the recent apps.
Pixel Launcher. Home.
So I am back home. I will now swipe down with 3 fingers from the top to open up the quick settings. In other words, I'm bypassing the second step of first opening up the notification by using 2 fingers and then swiping down again with 2 fingers. Instead, this time, I'll swipe down with 3 fingers from the very top, and that should take me to the quick settings. I will now swipe down with 3 fingers.
Quick settings.
There I am in the quick settings. Now, if I want to go back, I could swipe from the very left edge of my screen or the very right edge of my screen. And again, that's a short, brisk swipe, and that should take me back.
Notification shade.
See, I swipe back and I'm taken back to the notification shade. Now I can swipe back to go back to the home screen. However, I do want to caution here that swiping back here, sometimes if you're not careful while in the notification center, you may wind up swiping away a notification. So instead of swiping from the left or right edge of your screen to go back to the home screen while you are in the notification center, I suggest that you swipe from the bottom instead to go home. So I will now swipe from the bottom to go home.
Pixel Launcher. Home.
There we go. Now the next gestures that I would like to talk about is opening up the recent apps. So for instance, if I want to go to recent apps, you swipe up from the very bottom and then hold. So now I swipe and hold.
Recent apps. Settings text to speech settings, 19 of 20, in list.
I'm sorry, it's very noisy here today because we have a wild wind going on and it's kind of blowing things around, and trees by my house are actually brushing against the house. So you may be hearing some noises in the background. So there I am in my recent apps, and I could swipe from the bottom to go home or swipe from the left or right edge to go back. I'll swipe from the left or right edge to go back.
Pixel Launcher.
The next thing I would like to show you is how to activate your apps list or your apps drawer. My rule is that you swipe from the middle of the phone, so you don't start from the bottom, because if you start from the bottom, you may wind up activating either the recent apps or simply activating the Google Assistant. Of course, for the Google Assistant, you will need to swipe from either the left or bottom right edges. So now I will find where it says phone. That's the dock area. So I suggest that you swipe above the dock area if you want to go to your apps drawer or apps list.
Phone.
Now I'll swipe above that area with 2 fingers, and that should open up the apps list.
Apps list. Search.
There is my apps list. I will now swipe with 2 fingers from the bottom, short, brisk swipe to go home.
Home screen 1 of 5.
I am on my home screen. The next thing I want to show you is how to activate the Google Assistant without saying the hot word. And so from here, either you swipe up with 2 fingers from the bottom right corner or 2 fingers from the bottom left corner. I will now do that and ask it to open the system settings or something like that. Open settings.
Settings. Styles and wallpapers in list.
There we go. So if I tap here on styles and wallpaper,
Style. Style preview out of list.
and I want to go back to the previous screen, that will be the main system settings where I was, I just swipe from the very left or right edge.
Settings. Styles and wallpapers
And
in
there
list.
I am. I swipe again,
Pixel Launcher.
and I am back home. The next thing I want to talk about is how to get to your home settings. In other words, you want to get to things like widgets and home settings and things like that. There are actually a total of 4 different ways or 4 different methods of accomplishing this. The first method would have to be by activating a gesture that is assigned to your actions. In my case, I have assigned the left-right scrub, as I call it. In other words, you swipe left and right in one fluid movement to activate actions. And so what you want to do is to find an empty spot on the screen. So for instance, if I touch my screen,
Folder. Word processing. 4 or more items.
and if I move my finger and I find a place that says home, that means I am on an empty spot.
Home.
All right, now here, I will now activate the Actions menu by doing a left-right scrub.
Actions. Apps list in list.
And here we have Apps List,
Home settings.
Home Settings,
Widgets.
Widgets,
Styles and wallpapers.
Styles and Wallpapers,
Cancel.
and
Button. Out of
Cancel.
list. Cancel.
Now, if I go back and tap on where it says Apps List, it will take me back to that same place where I found my apps drawer. So in other words, if you don't want to swipe from the middle of the phone with 2 fingers to activate or open up the apps list or apps drawer, you can invoke the actions on a blank spot and find the same apps list. The next part I want to show, or the next method, will be activating the talkback menu. And if your phone supports the multi-finger gesture support, then you could just find that empty spot.
Folder. Home.
And once it says home, then all you do is tap with 3 fingers.
Talkback menu. Actions in list.
That brings up the talkback menu, and the first thing on here is the actions, just like the actions that I invoked using left-right scrub. So I will now tap on where it says actions.
Actions. Apps list in list.
And so you see, it brought me to where I see things like apps list,
Home settings.
Home settings.
Widgets. Styles and wallpapers. Cancel button.
And
Out of
cancel.
list. Pixel lock.
Now, if for some reason your phone doesn't support the multi-finger gestures, and I know a lot of phones still don't have that outside of the Pixel and Samsung phones, all you need to do is do the traditional swipe down and curving to the right to activate the talkback menu. And you will see the same thing. So I will now use that traditional method of activating the talkback menu by swiping down and curving to the right.
Home. Talkback menu. Actions in list.
Again, we hear actions, and so I tap
Actions. Apps list in list.
this apps list.
Home settings. Widgets. Styles and wallpapers. Cancel.
And
button.
cancel.
Pixel lock.
The last and final method is to actually long press. In other words, find a blank spot on your screen where it simply says home, and then double tap and hold. That equates to long pressing. So a lot of times you may hear someone say something like long press something. That's what that entails. I will now find a blank spot, double tap and hold. That will activate the actions.
Home. Home settings.
There is my home settings. And in this case, we do not have the apps list like we have in the other methods. So all we have here is home settings,
Widgets.
widgets,
Styles and wallpapers.
and we don't have a cancel. And so if I want to go back, all I need to do is just swipe from left or right or swipe from the bottom to go back home. Now, if you want to switch back to the traditional 3-button navigation, the way you do that is by going to the system settings. I will now demonstrate how you change back to the 3-button navigation because we still have that even on this Android 12 Beta 1. I will now open the system settings by activating the assistant and asking it to open up the system settings. Open system settings.
Settings. Profile picture. Double tap.
There I am in my system settings, and there are a couple methods of getting to that area where you could change the navigation. The first one is to make a search right near the top of the screen where it says search and simply type the word gesture. The second method will be to scroll down to the bottom and find where it says system, and there, tap there. And whether you search for gesture or go down and tap on system, after you tap on the gesture/system from the search result or you tap on the system, you will be taken to the screen where it has things like keyboards, languages, and all of that. And what we're looking for in there will be an item that says gestures. So how about we just scroll down to the bottom and find where it says system.
System.
There we go. So I tap.
Settings. System. Out of list.
What we're looking for here is something, an item that says gestures.
System. Languages and input. Gestures.
There we go.
Settings. Gestures. Out of list.
Now that we have tapped on gestures, the next thing
Message.
that
39.
the next thing that we're looking for is an item that says navigation system gestures or something like that. And I will now scroll toward the bottom and find that item.
Flip camera for system navigation. Gesture navigation.
There we go. So we tap here.
Settings. System navigation. Out of list.
The next screen that we're taken to contains a couple radio buttons. The first one is the system navigation, which by default is checked because I'm using those native system navigation. Now, if I touch that, listen to what it says.
Radio button. Selected. Gesture navigation. To go home, swipe up from the bottom of the screen. To switch apps, swipe up from the bottom, hold, then release. To go back, swipe from either the left or right edge.
The next thing that is there is a settings that is there for the sensitivity as to how sensitive you want these things to be. The higher the slider, the more sensitive it is, and it may conflict with some of your stuff. So let's go find that settings.
Settings, but gesture settings. Navigate up, button, out of list. Gesture settings. Back sensitivity, heading, in list.
So we got the back and right.
Left edge, low, high.
So the left edge, you could set it at low, high, or leave it in the middle, which would be 50%.
Left edge, slider, 50%.
And that's the default.
Right edge, low, high. Right edge. Right edge, slider, 50%. Higher sensitivity may conflict with any app gestures along the edges of the screen.
So there you go. I will now go back, and we're back to that screen where we could choose either the gesture navigation or the traditional 3-button navigation. The second radio button below that settings is for our 3-button navigation.
Radio button, not selected, 3-button navigation. Go back, home, and switch apps with buttons at the bottom of your screen.
I tap here.
System navigation. Navigate up, button, out of list.
I have changed to the 3-button navigation, and if I put my finger down, I will find buttons like back, home, and overview.
Back, button, out of list.
Move right.
Navigate home, button, overview, button.
And now I tap the home to go back.
Home, button, Pixel Launcher.
And I am back on the home screen. Now to go to my recent apps, I find and tap on the overview.
Overview, button. Recent apps. Styles and wallpapers, 20 of 21, in list.
And there I am in my recent apps. Now if I want to go back to changing it back to where I was, all I have to do here is to find and tap on the settings.
Settings. System navigation.
And that takes me back to where we chose the 3 traditional button navigation. I will now choose the gesture navigation by choosing the first radio button.
Radio button, not selected, gesture navigation.
Tap here. And I am back to the system navigation. If I put my finger at the bottom,
radio button.
There is no such thing as a back, home, or overview button. So now to swipe to go back home, all I have to do is do that brisk swipe from the bottom, and I will be taken home.
Setting, Pixel Launcher. Settings, 21.
And there I am back to home. And that has been how you use the gesture navigations or the native gesture navigations found in Android. Do not forget to subscribe so you're notified of every content that we upload to our channel. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to another clip from the Blind Android Users channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you're notified of every new material that we upload. Thanks again for listening to the Blind Android Users channel.